Hey, welcome back. We have a very cool knife here today. I don't get too many customs on this show, but got one for you today. This is from HMC Knives out of Pennsylvania. Really cool guy, Jim Vandevelde, and then he worked with, I want to say, I'm gonna forget the name right now, but David, I just forgot what it was. I'm gonna forget. Oh well. But they collaborated on these knives. These are Transients, and maybe it even says in here. Does it say? Yeah, Jim here. I don't know if I see any more info on there. But both really cool guys. I met them actually just sort of randomly out on the beach. And this one's a beauty. Again, I don't do a ton of custom knives, but when I do, I want it to be pretty special, and I'd say this one would fall into that category. So what makes it pretty cool? First, the action's really good. You can roll it out, reverse flick it perfectly. Flipper tab is very incognito. It's very minimalist, which I like. If you're gonna have a flipper tab, it's very embedded there, which is cool. You can thumb flip it. And it's one of those rare knives that has enough detent to do the thumb flip, but also can roll out really nicely. You can just wheel it out like it's nothing. And that's pretty rare to me. I always really appreciate when I see that. Overall, really nice. And this has a, what did he call it? Hang on, let me see if I have it here, my messages real quick. Subliner. So it is a liner lock that kind of embeds underneath the titanium scale, which is pretty cool. So you can see on this side, pretty nicely cut out there. Where's my flashlight? I have not been using that enough on the channel lately. There we go. See if I can rotate that in a way that's useful for you. And then over here you have the subliner. So within the scale is a really nice liner lock. Looking at it really quickly, I don't see like a removable lock bar insert or anything like that there. So it's all like one piece, the subliner piece. And I'm gonna guess this guy weighs in around 4.5 ounces or so with a 3.2 inch blade length. So let's measure it up real quick. By the way, the Mike Norris Taipan Damascus, how sweet is that? That thing looks beautiful. So just under 7.75, I'd say. Blade length, just over 3 1/4, maybe call it 3 1/4. And cutting edge, maybe 3 1/8 there. Let's pull out the scale, which could use a wash because it just sits here at my desk and collects dust. So sorry for that. But I picked this one up at PNWCY, the Pacific Northwest Custom Invitational Knife Show, 4.05 ounces, so pretty efficient there for what it is, right? A little over 3 inches of cutting edge. Once in a while I'll miss it there on the thumb flick. It's not the most intuitive thumb flick. If I were to change it, I'd probably carve out this guy a little further and bring that down a little bit so that you can get a little more purchase before, because up here you're going to kind of run into the scale a little bit. It's not the most intuitive, but really if you're looking at it, this thing's made for reverse flick, wheel out, and flipper tab. That's really, pretty obvious there. It was a good show. This was the second knife I picked up there, so it was kind of in my top 5 places I wanted to get a McGinnis, potentially a Maverick Concepts, which I ended up getting. I wanted to get something from a few other guys. The one that really stood out to me that was kind of surprising was this guy, Scott Hansen, had some beautiful knives there. I didn't know him super well, but man, he had some really nice knives that kind of had a very similar feel to this in terms of being able to wheel it out, but also having good action. So that was one of my other top 5 favorites there. So it's cool. I got 2 out of my top 5, I'd say, when I walked around the show and took a look at everything. Now this one is one of many that they did for this. This one has titanium scales. They also did these with some really nice carbon fiber scales. If you take a look at the HMC knives, I think on Instagram it is at hmc.knives. 20,000 followers for a reason. Make a lot of beautiful knives, but they have some really cool material options, different blade shapes, different blade grinds, different scales like fat carbon and stuff. And there were some really nice ones in there. So this one, I think I want to say there were 2 knives that had been purchased when I got there. But this one was in my top 3 of the ones I would have selected. So I felt like I got pretty lucky because I did stop by Maverick Concepts first. Just like, honestly, they didn't have really good signage. So that was just how I ended up around the event. But overall, I think I like the blade shape on this one more. I kind of liked one of the fat carbon or whatever it was, carbo tie frames, maybe a little more. They were just a little more unique and interesting, but this thing's great in terms of it's kind of plain, but has some really nice like light milling from a looks perspective. It's smooth to the touch, but it has some Damascus in the back spacer, Damascus on the clip, pivot collars, and then I want to say these are maybe Zirc pivot screws. Yeah, zirconium pivot screws. Made in the USA, is really nice. The action, pretty drop shut. It's not quite direct gravity drop shut, but pretty controlled. Like, you know what to expect every time. The only thing I've run into is some very minor lock stick, and it's not every time, but sometimes. Let's see if we get it. A little bit on that one, right? Sometimes it'll go 10, 20 without it, and sometimes it'll go 10 or 20 with it. So it's kind of interesting how that works. So I talked to him. He responded to my Instagram message within 2 minutes and said, send it in. I'll pay for shipping, and I'll make sure that that's not the case going forward. Perfect centering here, which is, you know, sometimes on custom knives, you'll have some issues there. And wow, what a beautiful look you get here on the spine of the blade. That is sweet. So overall, my first time buying something from HMC. This again was in, David Carver, one of those guys, or something like that. Let me see if I can find it really quickly on my PC. I think it's David Carver maybe, or David Carver. Yeah, Carver Knife Co. So at Carver Knife Co. on Instagram. Sorry that it took a while to get that name. He's got like 50,000 plus followers, does some really, really nice work. If you've seen his knives, they are beautiful. So this was a collaboration between these two, HMC and David Carver, and yeah, I'd say they knocked it out of the park in general. So they're not cheap. This guy table price was $1,800. So this is not CNC, is full custom as far as I can tell, at least I think. Keep me honest if I'm off on that, whoever's watching this, but I'm pretty sure this is full custom. I think I asked him actually and confirmed that. And yeah, nice little, very subtle logo here. Is the only place you'll see it is right there. So I like that. I like that a lot. Just give you a quick little close-up. And we'll call it at that. Hope you enjoyed that. Please like, subscribe, and I will see you on the next one. Take care.